The officers moved swiftly through the dark corridors of the abandoned space station, their boots echoing off the cold metal walls. The entire structure was in disrepair, lights flickering weakly, casting ominous shadows. They had been alerted to suspicious activity in this sector, a rare occurrence given how remote the station was. Leading the patrol was Commander Vrylek, a seasoned enforcer of the Galactic Order. His cold, calculating eyes scanned every corner with precision. At the heart of the station, they found the source of the anomaly. A small, battered human freighter docked at one of the ancient ports. It was a relic from a time long past, its hull rusted and its design almost forgotten. No one used such ships anymore, and it made the discovery all the more intriguing. Humans, Vrylek muttered under his breath, distaste evident in his tone. For centuries, humanity had been regarded as a relic themselves, outdated, unremarkable, and powerless in the grand scope of the galactic hierarchy. Yet here was a ship that defied logic, still operational in this desolate place. The patrol team breached the freighter's hatch. Inside, the air was surprisingly fresh, and the ship's interior was meticulously clean. This was not the chaotic mess they had expected. Sitting at a small, circular table were two elderly humans. The man, with white hair and a calm demeanor, was sipping from a cup, while the woman beside him, her silver hair tied neatly, was leafing through a book made of actual paper. "Hands where I can see them," barked one of the officers, weapons raised. The man placed his cup down gently and raised his hands, his movements deliberate and unhurried. The woman closed her book, her sharp eyes studying the intruders with quiet curiosity. There was no fear in their expressions, only a calm that unsettled the officers. "We mean no harm," the man said, his voice steady and resonant, as if he were the one in control. Commander Vrylek stepped forward, glaring at them. "You're in restricted space. This station is under the jurisdiction of the Galactic Order. Identify yourselves and state your purpose here." The woman smiled faintly. "Just travelers passing through." "Is that a crime now?" Vrylek's jaw tightened. "Your ship is ancient yet fully operational. Your presence here is suspicious, to say the least. You'll come with us for questioning." The couple exchanged a glance, their expressions unreadable. The man sighed. "As you wish, but I suggest you tread carefully, Commander. Things are not always as they seem." The officer scoffed, interpreting the comment as bravado. Restraints were placed on the couple, though they made no effort to resist. As they were led out of the ship, one of the officers took note of an engraving on the freighter's interior, a strange, intricate symbol that seemed to hum with an unseen energy. "Commander," the officer began, pointing at the engraving, but Vrylek waved him off. "Save it for analysis. We're taking them in." The couple remained silent during their transfer to the patrol ship. As the station shrank behind them, the woman whispered softly, her voice just loud enough for Vrylek to hear. "You've made a mistake, Commander, and I fear it will cost you more than you realize." The interrogation chamber was stark, a sterile room with harsh lighting and metallic walls that seemed to amplify every sound. The old couple sat side by side at the table, their hands cuffed but their expressions unbothered. Across from them stood Commander Vrylek, his patience already thinning. He leaned forward, glaring at the pair. "Your names, your purpose, your origins. Now." His voice was sharp, cutting through the oppressive silence. The man tilted his head slightly, studying Vrylek with an unsettling calm. "It's not often we meet someone so direct," he said, his voice carrying an air of quiet authority. "But as we told you, we're just travelers." Vrylek slammed a fist on the table, the impact reverberating through the room. "Travelers don't wander into restricted space in a ship older than this sector's laws. Who are you really?" The woman finally spoke, her tone even and measured. "You're asking the wrong questions, Commander. Instead, you should be wondering why a freighter from a primitive species, as you call us, is still functional after centuries." Her words gave Vrylek pause, but he quickly masked his unease. He gestured to one of the officers standing by the door. "Bring me a report on their ship and any data recovered from it." Minutes later, the officer returned, holding a datapad with a troubled expression. "Sir, the ship systems, they're unlike anything we've ever seen. The encryption on their navigation logs is impenetrable, and the engine design doesn't match any human records. It's as if it's been modified." Vrilek snatched the datapad and skimmed through the findings, his frown deepening. "Modified by whom?" The officer hesitated, glancing at the couple. "We don't know, sir, but it's far more advanced than anything the Galactic Order has encountered." The man chuckled softly, drawing everyone's attention. "Ah, the arrogance of empires, always assuming superiority without understanding the depths of what you overlook." Vrilek's temper flared. "Enough games. If you're hiding something, we will find it." The woman leaned back in her chair, her gaze piercing. "You already have, Commander. You just don't realize it yet." As the interrogation continued, a junior officer assigned to analyze the ship's cargo made a startling discovery. Among the mundane supplies were artifacts, intricately crafted devices emitting faint energy signatures. One appeared to be a small cube, pulsating with a soft, rhythmic glow. The officer rushed to report his findings. "Commander, we found this in their possession." He placed the cube on the table, its glow intensifying in the confined space. Vrilek eyed the object warily. "What is it?" The man's smile widened, though it carried a hint of sadness. "A fragment of the past. Something your empire buried and forgot, though its lessons remain. Handle it with care." Ignoring the warning, Vrilek reached for the cube. The moment his fingers brushed its surface, a sudden surge of energy coursed through the room. Images flashed in his mind: battlefields, starships of impossible design, and humanity standing unyielding against overwhelming odds. He staggered back, his breathing ragged. What is this?" he demanded, his voice shaken. The woman's voice was calm but carried a weight of authority. "It's a glimpse of what you seek to dominate but cannot understand. Humanity's history is not as simple as your records suggest. We are more than what you've reduced us to." Vrilek struggled to regain his composure, but the seeds of doubt had been sown. He gestured for the couple to be taken back to their holding cell, his mind racing. The artifacts, the ship, their unshakable demeanor, it all pointed to something far beyond his understanding. As the couple was led away, the woman glanced over her shoulder and spoke one final warning. "You're tampering with forces you cannot control, Commander. You've opened a door, and what lies beyond it may not be to your liking." The officers exchanged uneasy glances as the door closed behind them. Vrilek stared at the cube, its glow steady and unyielding, as if daring him to dig deeper into the truth he wasn't ready to face. The lights in the detention block flickered ominously, casting long shadows across the metallic walls. The old couple sat quietly in their cell, the woman leaning back against the cold surface while the man studied his restraints as though they were merely an inconvenience. The officers had left them alone, confident that the reinforced cell and energy field would hold. The silence was broken by the faint hum of the ship's systems. The man glanced at his companion, a silent exchange passing between them. He tilted his head slightly, and she gave a single nod. Without a word, the man shifted his fingers, and the restraints clicked open as though they had never been secured. Outside the cell, a junior officer monitoring the security feeds noticed the sudden movement. His brow furrowed as he leaned closer to the screen. "Commander Vrilek, we have activity in the detention block." The prisoners, he trailed off, his voice trembling. "What about them?" Vrilek snapped, stepping toward the console. "They've bypassed their restraints." Vrilek's eyes narrowed. "Impossible. Activate the energy field." The officer tapped a sequence into the control panel, but the field remained inactive. On the screen, the couple moved with eerie precision, dismantling the cell's mechanisms with tools seemingly conjured from nowhere. The woman retrieved a small device from her sleeve, its glowing interface unfamiliar and impossibly advanced. With a single tap, the security systems across the ship began to fail, lights dimming and power fluctuating. Vrilek barked orders, his voice echoing through the corridors. "Lock down the ship. Secure the detention block." The old couple stepped out of their cell, walking with deliberate calm as alarms blared around them. Armed officers flooded the corridor, their weapons trained on the pair. The man raised a hand, and a pulse of invisible energy radiated outward, disarming the guards in an instant. Weapons clattered to the ground as the officers fell back, stunned. "Stand down," the man said, his voice firm but not unkind. "There's no need for this to escalate further." Vrylek arrived moments later, flanked by his remaining forces. He drew his own weapon, leveling it at the couple. "You will surrender now, or I'll—" Before he could finish, the woman stepped forward, holding a small, crystalline device. Pulsed once, and the ship systems went completely offline. The lights dimmed to near darkness, and an eerie silence filled the air as even the hum of the engines ceased. "You've underestimated us, Commander," she said, her voice calm but carrying an edge of warning. "You assumed weakness where there was strength, ignorance where there was knowledge, and now you're at a crossroads." Vrylek's hand trembled slightly, though he kept his weapon raised. "Who are you?" The man stepped forward, his gaze piercing. "We are the remnants of a forgotten era, architects of humanity's survival when the galaxy sought to erase us. You've mistaken our patience for submission, our silence for insignificance." The crew, disarmed and disoriented, could only watch as the couple moved with a confidence that belied their age. The woman activated another device, projecting a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Points of light appeared, marking ancient battlefields and forgotten territories. "Your empire prides itself on its dominance," she continued, "but it stands on the bones of those who came before. You've grown complacent, blind to the forces that shaped the galaxy long before your kind rose to power." Vrylek's composure cracked. "What do you want?" The man smiled faintly. "To be left alone. But your actions have forced our hand. Now, you'll face the consequences of waking what should have been left undisturbed." The ship shuddered as systems began to reactivate, but not under the crew's control. Lights flickered back to life, revealing an unsettling truth. The couple had commandeered the vessel. The woman tapped a sequence into her device, and the ship's navigation system plotted a course back to their freighter. "You have a choice, Commander," the man said. "Release us or face a reckoning that neither you nor your empire is prepared for." Vrylek hesitated, the weight of his arrogance pressing down on him. His instincts screamed to retaliate, but the sight of his crew, disarmed, powerless, and clearly outmatched, left him with little choice. With a reluctant nod, he lowered his weapon. "Go. But no, this isn't over." The couple exchanged a glance, their expressions unreadable. "It never is," the woman replied softly. As they departed, the crew stood in stunned silence, the ship's systems slowly returning to normal. Vrylek stared after them, a mixture of anger and unease twisting in his chest. For the first time, he felt the fragile foundation of his authority crumble beneath him. The patrol ship floated in silence, its crew shaken and subdued. Commander Vrylek stood on the bridge, his gaze fixed on the distant freighter as it powered up for departure. Every system had been restored, yet the sense of control he prided himself on was nowhere to be found. "Commander," one of the officers ventured hesitantly, "should we pursue them?" Vrylek's hand tightened into a fist, his jaw clenching as he weighed the question. For the first time in his career, he was unsure. "No," he said finally, his voice low. "Let them go." The old freighter pulled away, its engines humming with a power that belied its antiquated appearance. As it disappeared into the black expanse of space, the woman's voice echoed over the ship's comms, a final message left behind. "Remember this encounter, Commander, not as a defeat but as a lesson. The galaxy is vast, and its secrets are not yours to claim." Her words lingered long after the signal faded, leaving the crew in uneasy silence. Vrylek turned sharply, addressing his officers. "Compile every piece of data we've gathered on that ship and its passengers. I want a full report on my desk within the hour." In the detention block, one of the junior officers reviewed the security footage of the couple's escape. His hands trembled as he paused the video on a frame showing the man's face, illuminated by the faint glow of one of the artifacts. Something about his expression, a mixture of wisdom and sorrow, sent a chill down the officer's spine. "Commander," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I think they let us live." Vrilek stared at the footage, his thoughts racing. He didn't need to admit it aloud. He knew the officer was right. Every move the couple had made had been calculated, precise, and restrained. They could have destroyed the ship, incapacitated the entire crew, or worse. But they hadn't. Meanwhile, aboard the freighter, the couple sat in quiet contemplation. The man adjusted the ship's course, his hands steady on the controls. "Do you think they'll heed the warning?" the woman asked, her gaze fixed on the star-speckled void. "They have no choice," he replied. "But it's not the commander I'm concerned about. The Galactic Order will hear of this, and they won't take it lightly." She nodded, her expression somber. "They'll dig deeper, won't they? Try to uncover what they shouldn't." "They always do," the man said with a faint smile. "Arrogance is the hallmark of empires." Silence fell between them, broken only by the steady hum of the freighter's engines. The woman reached for the small, crystalline device they had used to disable the patrol ship. It glowed faintly, a relic of humanity's past. A past filled with struggle, ingenuity, and survival against impossible odds. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked softly. He turned to her, his expression thoughtful. "Regret what?" "Leaving it all behind. The wars, the alliances, the power we once held. Do you miss it?" He considered her question, then shook his head. "Power is a burden. We've carried it long enough. Let the galaxy forget us for a while longer. And if they don't?" His smile returned, faint but resolute. "Then we remind them why humanity survived when so many others didn't." Back on the patrol ship, Vrilek retreated to his quarters, the weight of the encounter pressing down on him. He activated his personal terminal, accessing historical archives on humanity. The records were sparse, filled with dismissive accounts of a species that had risen and fallen long before the Galactic Order came to power. Yet the artifacts they'd recovered and the ship's inexplicable technology told a different story. His fingers hovered over the controls as he hesitated. If the couple's claims were true, then humanity's history was not one of insignificance, but of resilience and ingenuity. And if the Galactic Order continued to underestimate them, it might be a mistake that would cost them dearly. The patrol ship resumed its journey, its crew carrying the weight of an encounter that had shaken their confidence. Among them, whispers spread, stories of the old couple who had walked unscathed through their defenses and left behind a trail of questions they couldn't answer. Some called it luck. Others called it a warning. But Vrilek knew better. It was a message clear and undeniable. Far away, the freighter disappeared into the vastness of space, its passengers leaving behind a galaxy that had forgotten their strength. But they carried with them the memories of a time when humanity had stood against the tide, unyielding and indomitable. And though they sought peace, they were prepared for the storm that would inevitably follow.